Hi guys, we actually started our brand new book yesterday called Giant Squid. We did chapters 1 and 2 yesterday, and today we're going to move on to the next couple, but I'm going to go ahead and read this for the kids that were absent. So yesterday we took a look at some of our table of contents, some of our photographs, some of our illustrations, and we're going to go ahead and just catch up on chapters 1 and 2 of The Giant Squid, Searching for a Sea Monster by Mary Cerullo and Clyde Roper. A creature of colossal size. Without warning, a gigantic twisting tentacle burst out of a dark sea. As flexible as a human hand, it snatches a sailor from the deck of his ship. A single scream pierces the night. The sailor and the creature are gone. When the seas were still largely uncharted, sailors and fishermen told stories like this about a mythic monster of the deep. Norwegian sailors described a spider-like creature as big as an island. Its long arms could wrap around the mast of a ship and drag it to the bottom of the ocean. Or the monster could create a gigantic whirlpool as it dove back into the depths, pulling the ship down with it. Sailors and storytellers called the creature the Kraken. Drawings of this mysterious beast bore a strong resemblance to what we now know as the giant squid. In 1874, a newspaper account of an actual encounter between a ship's crew and a giant sea creature inspired the French author Jules Verne to revise a book that he was writing. As the paper reported, a sea captain claimed that he had ordered his crew to fire on a many-armed sea monster, which he believed was trying to climb aboard his ship. Riddled with rifle bullets and weighed down by cannonballs, the beast finally sank beneath the waves. Verne put this tale to work in his fiction. An attack on Captain Nemo and the crew of the Nautilus by a squid of colossal size became the most famous scene in Verne's book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Early clues. Eventually, these bizarre creatures, or at least evidence of them, began to show up in more than just seafarers' tales. In the 1700s and 1800s, many captains of whaling ships were amateur naturalists, people who study nature. They recorded what they observed in their ship's logs. Some of these captains hunted sperm whales, the largest toothed whales that ever lived. When they hauled their catch on board, they often noticed strange circular scars on the whale's head and jaws. These scars suggested a fierce wrestling match with some enormous beast, but what creature could take on a 70-ton whale? Inside the stomachs of the whales was another mystery, waxy balls of a smelly substance called ambergris. These oily lumps are made by the digestive juices of whales. Ambergris coats any hard object a whale swallows that could irritate its stomach. In the center of the lumps, sailors found what looked like large bird beaks. Did sperm whales eat birds? Here we have a photograph, and it has a label showing 2 beaks, and the caption says, "Fresh ambergris from a whale's stomach stinks, but over time it mellows into an attractive fragrance used in expensive perfumes." Observant whaling captains finally figured out the source of both the round scars and the sharp beaks. They came from squids. The sailors had eaten many types of small squids, which are plentiful in the sea. They knew that a squid has powerful suction cups on its arms and tentacles and a sharp beak inside its mouth. As it battled the whale, a very large squid could have wrapped its arms around the whale's jaws to try to fight off its attacker and escape. The many beaks inside the sperm whale's stomach revealed that most squids lost the fight. The largest beak, the size of a man's fist, and the round scars as big as hockey pucks could have only come from a giant squid. Before scientists knew the actual size of a giant squid, artists imagined that it might be as big as a sperm whale. Where would a sperm whale and a giant squid meet? Whaling captains harpooned sperm whales when these marine mammals came to the surface to breathe. Little did the sailors know that when the whales regularly dive down to 4,000 feet or deeper, it's there in the deep ocean that the sperm whales encountered their favorite meal, the giant squid. The giant squid's beak is made out of chitin and is similar to crab and lobster shells. Here is the giant squid's beak, and it's made from the same kind of material that makes lobster shells and crab shells. These are round scars embedded in a sperm whale's soft skin that reveal the giant squid's suckers were rimmed with small, sharp teeth. These are the scars that the suckers made. Occasionally, a dying giant squid was hauled up in a fishing net, or pieces of giant squid would wash ashore. In 1873, Newfoundland fishermen caught what they called a sea monster and showed it to their local clergyman, the Reverend Moses Harvey. In those days, ministers often served as the local experts on scientific as well as spiritual matters. The Reverend Harvey persuaded the fishermen to give him the remains of the squid, which he draped over a bathtub and put on display. It was the first complete giant squid specimen known to science. Many giant squids would wash up on the shores of eastern Canada in the late 1800s. Here's a photograph of a giant squid that they found. A man wanted it, so he asked for the remains and he draped it over his bathtub to show people. Why do giant squids sometimes wash up on shore? Scientists know that sometimes deep, cold ocean currents change their course, moving closer to the surface. Animals that normally live in the depths, including giant squid, may be transported by wayward currents into new territory, often to warmer, shallower water closer to land. There, the dramatic differences in water temperature can kill deep-sea animals. Scientists suspect that these conditions existed at the times when dead giant squids washed ashore off the eastern coast of Canada. Here's a drawing, but here's a real photograph of a giant squid that washed up on the shore of the beach in New Zealand in 1984. A woman was able to take a picture with a giant squid that she found on the New Zealand beach. Today we're going to read chapter 3, which is called Meet the Squid Hunter. So we're going to read this one a little bit later, and you could check back later in the afternoon for these chapters. Bye, guys.